Okay, we are here live tonight. Special guest, Ski Beatz. He's coming on live soon. So, couple things letting you know that we're going to be giving away Ski's Smack Pack, his new kit. We're giving away Dark Analog Synths as well on Monday. So, keep in mind we're going to be doing this giveaway for our raffle on Monday. And like I said, we are ready to roll. Ski is checking in, so let's bring him on in. Tonight, Friday, live, 12-bit soul, Ski. Let's get it. Ski.
Yo, yo.
Yo! What's up, man?
Baby? How you doing?
Man, you know the drill. Just, long time no talk here, right?
That's right.
Oh, my God. So I was just thinking about it. I want to see if you can hear my audio all right, because I've got a Bluetooth speaker playing on my laptop.
Okay.
So, let's see. Trying to get this thing to behave right. But yeah, man, what's been going on?
Man, I'm just over here messing around with some stuff, the regular shit.
Well, tell people. Okay, since I'm getting the audio going, why don't you tell everybody what's going on with Smack Pack and the whole phenomena?
Yeah. Hey, man, we just had the Smack Pack challenge. Pretty cool, man. We had some dope producers, do that thing, make some cool tracks with the drums I provided. It was pretty fun, man. We had my man Theory. Theory has it won yesterday. It was dope.
That's what's up, man. So okay, I'm bringing in some audio. You able to hear? Does it come through?
A little bit.
Hold on, I want to jam too hard. Make time on earth. All right, cool. I just want to make sure. All right, cool, man. So here we are. We're gonna be talking a little bit about what we talked about on, what was that, Monday or Tuesday? So anyway, introduce yourself, because I can introduce you all day. Okay, he produced for Jay-Z, he produced for Camp Lo, he produced for Currency, he produced for Murs, he produced for Most Def. I can do all that. He sound designs, he does this. There's not much you haven't done over the last 25 years in the game. So why don't you tell everybody who you are?
What's up, y'all? Ski Beatz, producer, teacher, father, all that stuff,
Really?
Yeah.
So
How y'all doing?
So humble. But all right, man, let's get started. Let people know where you're originally from, and we're gonna start there, and we're gonna work our way up through some kind of timeline here.
Oh, all right. I'm originally from North Carolina, from Greensboro.
All right. So do this. Why don't you tell people about the whole scene down in Greensboro, with your crew, the Busy Boys. Why don't you kind of bring everybody up to speed on that?
Well, yeah, I started off, I wasn't a producer always. I started off as an MC. I was rapping in this group based out of North Carolina called the Busy Boys. Man, incredible times. It was me, my partner Fanatic, two dancers, Move and Groove, my DJ, Mixmaster D, God bless his soul. Yeah, man, back in 80, 86, 87, 88, 89, I was in North Carolina just, rapping. You feel me?
No, I feel you. I do. Now, let me ask you this, too.
Yeah, man.
And you told me a story the other day, and my partner Brent, who you know too, within the 12-bit soul, and shout out to Brent and Pat and CB listening tonight. We're gonna talk. What gear were you using back then, and then we're gonna get into that story that you told me about. A certain hip hop legend.
Okay, back then I was I started with the SP1200. Kind of graduated to the SP1200 with the 950, with the Kai 950. Once I moved to New York and started doing records, but my basic foundation is the SP1200.
Right. Right. So what were you guys using before the SP though? What was the
the 808 was using the TR-808 drum machine, man. Yeah. We started with that first. And crazy story, man. being in the Busy Boys back then, we was kind of popular in North Carolina, and we used to open up for all the, the major acts that came into town, from the Dana Danes to the Biz Marquies, Big Daddy Kane's, whatever. Anyhow, we met Biz Markie, and we was sitting down with him, and he was telling us about the SB 1200, because that's what Marley Marl was using. This is before we had the SB, we had the 808. He was telling us about that, and he said, hey, send me the 808, and I'll send you guys some sounds to get SB 1200. And he never sent the sounds. He kept the 808, but long story short, he got us.
And that when you told me that story, that's why I want to ask you when I was writing up the interview this week. I'm like, can I?
Biz Markie stole our drum machine, man.
I mean, it's you don't want to hear stories like that, but it's because I was explaining to Brent, because Brent sent me a text today. He's like, man, did you mean to say that Ski sent the sounds, the 808 sounds to Biz? I said no. I said Ski sent the 808, the TR-808, the Roland to Biz.
He promised he promises to give us. He promised to give us the sounds that Marley Marl had. He was gonna give us that Marley Marl sound. He's like, yeah, I got you, man. Send me that, and I'll send you, a disc full of sounds. And we never got the sounds, but he kept the 808.
Right, which is
crazy.
We
was young though. We learned. We got jerked.
And but at the same time, I think what people don't quite understand is the opportunity to get those Marley discs. I mean, come on, man. That's Eric B. and Rakim. That's all the Coachella stuff. That's all the MC Shan stuff. It's all of that.
Right.
And to get that, especially we're talking what, late 80s?
Yeah, man.
Come on.
But come on, we was naive. Of course he wasn't gonna give us Marley sounds. But we was naive. We thought
he probably didn't even have them.
Cool.
Yeah. He probably didn't have them. But anyway, okay, so Busy Boys are jumping off. So talk a little bit about what they were doing in North Carolina, because I didn't realize until you told me that you guys were really making a scene and being as big as you guys were. Yeah,
we was like one of the first rap groups out of North Carolina to actually, put out actual vinyl records and get it played on the radio, and we was building a buzz. We was truly independent back then, man. It was just, our label at the time was Payroll Records.
Okay.
And we was truly independent. We was doing our thing. We was grinding. We was touring all across North Carolina. We was popping.
Yeah. No, and that was big. I mean, to actually put out put out vinyl records 30 plus years ago.
Yeah, it was big.
People don't understand how big that is. I mean, I think we take it for granted now with, how, the cost of doing it's a lot cheaper now than it was then. But,
and especially back then, man, because you got to realize, the only people that was putting out records was like, major artists that was from like New York or LA or whatever. And they had major record companies putting out their stuff. So, for us to kind of, put out our own record, coming from North Carolina, a little small town out of NC, that was really big for us. And that was really big for the state.
Yeah, no, I can see. Because, I mean, that's another thing, too. Like, and Brent and I were having this conversation today, too, about NC's influence on a lot of things, but specifically as it pertains to hip-hop.
Yeah.
We were talking about Mark Spark, and the stuff that he did with, like, Sadat X and,
Mark is one of Mark was with our crew. Mark was down with us.
Well, why don't you talk about that a little bit more, man? You didn't tell me that the other day.
Mark Spark, he started off as a promoter, and he promoted the Busy Boys to come perform in his hometown, which was Wadesboro, North Carolina. And he started hanging out with us, and he learned how to make beats, messing with us. You feel me? And Mark was the first one out of the crew to kind of go out and do his thing. When he did the stuff for like Mary J and Grand Poobah and all that, he was the first one out of our crew to start making music and start to get placements and start, to make money from it. And around that time, I was living in New York, and I went to one of his sessions. He used to record at D&D Studios all the time. And I was like, Mark was dope. You feel me? And definitely a lot of my musical sounds was definitely inspired by Mark Spark.
Oh, Mark is crazy. And didn't he do that Sunshine Anderson? The Heard It All Before? I want to bring that in because a lot of people may not know Mark Spark, but I know, I mean, if you're listening to this podcast and haven't heard that song, you may want to definitely check that out.
Right.
But
I think
yeah.
It was him and Mike City.
Okay.
That produced that. Yeah.
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 Oh man. Okay. So you got the Busy Boys jumping off. So we got to go. We got to head north. So you go up to New York City. What transpires? Why'd you go?
So
Shed some light on that.
Right. So the Busy Boys, we eventually broke up. Everybody kind of went their separate ways. And the owner of the record label, he was from New York, and he asked me if I wanted to move to New York. And he asked the whole group actually, but the other guys, they didn't want to move at the time. So I said, yeah, I'll go. You know what I'm saying? And so I was young, so he had to get permission from my mom first. So my mom she was kind of, skeptical at first, but she let me go. And when I first got to New York, we stayed at Roland's. That's the guy's name who owned the label, Roland Jones.
Right.
We stayed at his mother's house in New Jersey. Stayed there for like a year. Then somehow he got connected with this guy named Jeffrey, who owned a studio in New Jersey, in Inglewood, New Jersey. And Jeffrey, he let me stay there. He let me live in that studio, because Roland, he had his own spot, but he ain't had enough room to house me. You know what I mean? So he said, "Yo, Ski, you just stay in the studio. You want to be in the studio. You can make music all the time, yada yada." I'm like, "All right, cool." So I lived in the studio, and that was like the beginning of Original Flavor there, but I didn't really know it at the time. What happened was this guy named Jerome. He was a cop, and he was with my first partner, Suave. They came to the studio because they was getting production from this other guy that was staying in the studio by the name of Marlon. There was a Studio A and a Studio B. I was always in Studio B. Marlon was in Studio A. So they was going to see Marlon to get beats from him, but they overheard me in Studio B making beats. So they went back there and it was like, "Hey, these, Jerome was like, 'Hey, these are your beats?' I'm like, 'Yeah.' He said, 'Well, listen, I'm looking for beats,
right.
And I want you to make beats. And by the way, I'm a cop, boom, 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 whatever. Just give me the whole story.'" And funny, it's weird to say that right now. That whole
For real though.
Yeah. But anyhow, he said, "Look, if you make me beats, you can stay in my apartment in Harlem." And when I went to his apartment, he had a whole full-blown studio in the apartment. So I was making beats, but living there for free. And while I was making beats for him, I was working on beats for Original Flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean that worked out. And that's what I'm saying. Like the Original Flavor didn't have a huge shelf life, but the impact that it had on your career was huge.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
around that time, that's when you're messing with Suave. He's in Original Flavor.
Mm-hmm.
That's around the same time you met Dame, right?
Yeah. We made, we worked on a demo. I made the demo tape. I went to Atlantic Records because I knew Clark because of being in the Busy Boys, because Clark used to DJ for Dana Dane. And we used to open up for Dana Dane when they came to Greensboro to do shows. So I met Clark and he said, "Yeah, if you ever in New York, look me up." You know what I'm saying? I got you. So when I looked him up, A&R at Atlantic Records, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So I went to Atlantic Records. I gave him the demo, and a couple of days later, whatever, he called me and said, "Hey, Atlantic Records want to sign you." So I went to Atlantic Records, and the day I went there, Dame Dash was in there. He said, "By the way, this is my man Dame Dash. He loves what you guys is doing. He want to manage you." So that's how, I kind of got meshed in with Dame. He was managing, Old Flav, me and Suave from that point on. And that's how the whole Old Flav thing took off. That's how I got introduced to Dame. That's how I got in the game. That's how I got my first official,
So I'm trying to figure. So we'll take it back. Just rewind a second to Clark Kent. And that's another one. I mean, obviously he produced on, Jay's debut. So your relationship. So what did these beats sound like that you gave him? Because if he was feeling like that, these beats had to be crazy.
Man, it was the demo. It was the Original Flavor demo. It was the songs that you heard on the first album. That's what it was. He loved it. You know what I'm saying? And Clark was always a big fan of the Busy Boys. He always loved the music that we was making. But we was in NC, and you know, we wasn't in New York, so we couldn't really, you know, do anything with him at the time. But he was always, you know, he was always there for us.
No, that's what's up. So it looks like, hey, it looks like Joe Claire chimed in. He wants you to say how you taught him how to make beats.
Hi, Joe Claire. What up, Cleasy?
So
Joe Claire.
that's what's up. But yeah, man. So you're meeting Dame, and another thing I think you talked about too the other day that really stuck me. So around this time, and as clever as Dame Dash is, and I think a lot of people forget sometimes.
Yeah.
With Jay's meteoric rise, that Dame had such a large part in that, and then, but how clever it was, how he did that little marketing. How you were telling me he did the marketing by putting Jay on the original Flavor records.
Right.
And then,
right.
but at the same time, he's managing, you know, obviously Jay, but then he's got, you know, he's managing you. So it just, it's a wonderful synergy. Like, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was definitely building the brand and building the team at the same time. We actually, when I met Jay at our, we were shooting a video for the song called Here We Go. And Clark had brought Jay, Source Money, and Jazzo to the video shoot because he wanted them to meet Dame for potential management. And all those guys, man, they started rapping, and they was like, you know, wow, incredible. That was like the time I was like, you know what? I need to just be making beats for these guys because these guys is incredible with it. You feel me?
Well, because you were saying it was what? It was Jazzo. So
Jazzo,
Sauce coming
Money,
through.
Sauce Money, and Jay-Z.
And you said they, at that time, they were actually a group. That I didn't know either.
Yeah, there was a group. They was forming a group called the Hard Pack. And it was produced by Clark.
That would have been crazy.
That would have been crazy, yeah.
That would have been crazy. So, as you were saying, though, but you were talking about how Jay, so what was your initial impression on, you've got three lyrical beasts. You've got,
yeah.
You know, we've discussed too. Jazz had been out for a long time. Like a lot of people who maybe don't know Jazzo today, you know, that was Hawaiian Sophie. But, you know, he used to be on a lot of, like, you know, a lot of God Body stuff, a lot of 5%.
Right.
And his lyrics were just, they were deep.
His lyrics was, yo, you know, when he spit, you could obviously tell Jazzo was a fucking pro off the top. But he was super deep, super, you know, super intricate. And you had to kind of listen to him, you know, to really get what he was saying. And to this day, he's still like that, you know? He's lyrical. Source Money was more like aggressive, more like a pit bull, get right at your neck. You know what I'm saying? Strangle you. Crazy. And Jay was just like, his timing and his punchlines and how he would hit you was like another level.
So, but you got three lyrical beasts.
Mm-hmm.
Why Jay?
I don't know. You know, just something that stood out. Just something that stood out. You know, something that stood out. And I don't know. You know, he just had that thing, bro.
Yeah, I mean, because
they all got
the reason
that
I'm asking,
they all got that thing.
The reason I'm asking is a lot of people don't. They hear Jay-Z now, but they don't remember Jay-Z original Flavor.
Right.
With the fast rapping, they don't really remember that. Or they hear stories about it, but they don't remember, like, that's who he was.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't know. I was just, that's why I'm asking even more so now, because it's easy to look now 25 years later and be like, okay, of course you picked Jay. Right? But to find the fast rapping Jay back then, that's, I think, what even more
Dude,
struck.
yo, but listen, I would have picked them all. I would have did an album for Jay. I would have did an album for Sauce, and I would have did an album for Jazzo. But Dame, you know, Dame gravitated towards Jay more and kind of had Jay around us more. I mean, Jazzo and Sauce, they was always around, but they was doing their own thing too. You feel me?
Right.
They was always around, but Jay-Z was around more. And him and Dame, they had a relationship like that. So, you know, he was there, and we was making music, and it was happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I would have definitely produced all of them if I had the chance.
No. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, to have any one of those three, you know, would have been crazy. So, okay, so original Flavor, 2-album deal with Atlantic. First album drops. Then the second album starts gaining. Who steps in? Who steps out of the lineup right there? Then
first album drops. my original partner, Suave Lover, he had things going on in his life, so he couldn't continue the journey with us.
Okay.
So I snatched up my partner, Tone Hooker. He was always around. He was always a dope young MC that I was working with on the side. But I decided to throw him in the group because, you know, he was dope. He had that energy. You know what I mean?
Tone's dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he jumped on this a lot of, it's another one that I loved at the time, but it's a harder record to find now. Was his it was Jazz's Foundation record, and it's featuring Tone, and it's featuring Jay-Z, and it's jazz production, and it's Ohio Players loop basically.
Yeah.
But it's crazy. They are just annihilating the record.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my little aside. So you got Jay-Z. So how did Jay get introduced on these songs? Like, I mean, because obviously that helped him too, as far as gaining his, you know, rise to stardom. So, how many records was he featured on in that first original or the second Original Flavor album?
I think like maybe 2-3 songs.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he was around. We was crew. It was like, you know, you in the house, you got your friends, everybody's around, you're making music. Yo, lay a verse on that, man. He'll put a verse down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'll put my verse down. It was like that. It wasn't like no strategy, no plan. It was just like we was making hip hop. And if you was in the room and if you was feeling it, you just jumped on it and did your thing.
No, and you can tell that the records have an organic feel like that, where they sound like that. It doesn't sound like something that's, you know, done 3,000 miles away via mail.
Yeah, man. Look, no. it wasn't no formula. It wasn't no rocket science. It was none of that. It was just young brothers loving to do hip hop, and we caught that vibe because it was all love. You feel me? It ain't no secret magical formula how it happened or what was the vibe like when y'all was in the room. So what was you thinking? It's nothing like that. It's just like you making a beat. The shit is dope. You tell your man, he start writing. His verse is dope. Hook is dope. Everybody's in the room like, yo, this is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but that's hip hop. That's
hip hop, exactly.
It is. And so, okay. So talk about that transformation. So we've got you're there to witness all this. So you see fast rapping, you know, Jay-Z slow it down. And the record that I was talking about the other day when I was doing college radio, and I burned it. I wore this thing out. And I kind of laughed. I thought I wore the record out more than I did until you told me that there actually were crackles in the sample that you guys had. I thought it was my record making that sound. I didn't know it was. I didn't know. But tell them about the tell them about the In My Lifetime record, because that was big, and it kind of came out of nowhere in my opinion at the time.
Yeah, that was the first official record, solo Jay-Z record that I did. Crazy. Yeah. Just caught an old dusty sample, threw some old hip hop drums on it, and it worked. It worked. And that's the same time he changed his flow. You notice, you could kind of, he was starting to paint the pictures. You feel me? He was starting to let you know about his life and what he was doing. It wasn't no more wiggity. He was talking about, from the champagne to get the money. He was starting to put it out there. He was starting to talk about the things that was going on in his life. And he could talk about it so vividly because, he wrote off of the experience that was happening to him every day. He wrote from things that was going on around him every day, and he would just put it in the rhyme.
Okay, so I want to say it's Chillmatic, or I want to say that. I'm glad you brought this question up because I got this right here. Ski, tell me if you can hear this, all right? Mm-hmm. Tell me. Hold on, I got to... Like I said, I'm trying to make sure my audio is legit. All right. I know you hear that.
Yeah, I hear.
All right, so let's get to it because I know people love hearing about that record. It's a special record to me. It's a special record to a lot of people. So talk about that Dead Presidents record, man.
Dead Presidents, man. I was with the group Original Flavor. We was at one of those those industry things, like How Can I Be Down? You know, one of those kind of.
Of course.
Yeah, we went to one of those, and we was chilling, and everybody was driving on the strip, man. Everybody in the industry was driving on the strip, but they was all playing Nas's Illmatic. They was playing, you know, The World Is Yours. That's all you heard down there. And so when I heard that beat, you know, I was like, yo, Pete Rock, he killed that. And the pianos, I'm like, yo, I love the way it made me feel. So when I went home, I was just trying to find a sample that kind of gave me that same energy, you know what I mean? And so when I found the Lonnie Liston sample, I was like, oh, this is dope. You know, kind of chopped it up. Took Nas's vocal, put it on top, just to see if it would go. Just see how Nas would sound over the beat. You know what I mean? And I liked it. And so I played the beat, you know, for Jay. You know, the Nas sample, I forgot to take it out, but he heard it. He liked it. He said, keep it in there. And he killed it, bruh. He wrote that. You know what I'm saying? He wrote that.
Well, and that's what I was saying. Because I remember when Priority mailed out that sample tape. And they, you know, they mailed it out to all, like, you know, it was radio promos, you know. And I remember getting that tape, and I remember hearing Dead Presidents for the first time, and I was blown away. I mean, it just, because like I said, Jay slowed it down. So as you need, the term you used the other day was pocket. Like, Jay found that pocket, and it just, the beat. And anybody who's familiar with, and shout out to Lonnie Liston Smith and his catalog, anybody who's familiar with his stuff understands how special it is and how dynamic the sounds are. And if you're not familiar, please go check out his catalog because it's crazy. But so what did Dead Presidents do for the whole camp as far as, you know, you and Dame and Jay and everybody else? What was that feeling like for you guys?
Actually, when it first came out, it didn't really do too much, because if you flip the record over, you got the Ain't No Nigga record with Foxy Brown.
Yeah. Okay.
And that blew up. You feel me? That blew up. That took them up out of here. But I mean, Dead Presidents back then was always respected, but Dead Presidents got more like now than it did back then. You feel me? Yeah.
So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, since not to compare records, but to compare records. Like, if you had to, like, if I had to pick one that to me ages better, I'm going to take Dead Presidents. You know, I mean, the B-side joint was obviously huge, and then wasn't that like the Nutty Professor soundtrack or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's kind of hard to compare, but that Dead President, what that did for Jay to me was like it solidified him, and you know, if somebody had asked me if I like, you know, It Was Written, which came out, you know, the same year, or if I like, you know, Reasonable Doubt better, I'm taking Reasonable Doubt.
Oh yeah.
Just about on the strength of that record alone.
Oh yeah.
You know, and I'm just no shot at Nas, because we gotta have a whole nother discussion about how It Was Written actually possibly did more for his career than Illmatic did, but we're not going to talk about that here. So anyway, we got Dead Presidents jumping off. One of the other records I really, really liked off that was the Feelin' It record. So discuss a little bit how that came about, and just the whole vibe on that song was dope. So explain that.
Well, Feelin' It was originally a song that I was doing. I was working on a solo record, and Feelin' It was one of the records I was gonna throw on my album. Well, that I thought I was gonna throw on my album. But anyhow, I had my man Geechee Sway from Camp Low. He was on it. And I had my homegirl Mecca from VA. She was singing the hook. And I was excited about the record. You know, I thought it was dope. So I took it to Dame House. And when I took it to Dame House, Jay was there. So I played the record. I'm like, yo, check out this record I made. This shit is crazy. I got me a joint. Played it for him. They heard it. And Jay was like, yo, I need that record. I want that record. Let me get that record. And, you know, I gave it to him, obviously. You know, he kept the hook.
Yeah, I mean,
he
how
kept
do you
the
turn
hook.
that down?
Right. He kept the hook, and he kept the same way I was flowing on it, which was dope. And he told me he was going to do it. And he killed it, man. You know, he killed it. He made it crazy. It was a classic. It worked.
Yeah, because, I mean, and the reason I kind of bring that up is I think that record, at least to me, kind of, and we're going to get to it, but I think that record was like a good segue into it was a good segue into, what you did with Camp Low. And that's why I'd always heard like the little hip hop rumor that was a Camp Low record originally until, what you said.
Yeah, it's my record.
Which
I don't know where people got that from. They be making shit up. That was my record.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, that's part of the whole hip hop lore is, people are always going to make shit up, and then it at least keeps it interesting, right?
Yeah. Sure.
It is what it is. Okay, so how many joints did you produce total on that first? It was 4? Was it 4?
I think it was 4. Filling It, Politics, 22 Twos, Dead Press 4. Yep.
Okay, so, and I know another record on there that you were a big fan of. I know you liked Dead Presidents, but it was Politics as Usual. And I think that's a dope aside too on, that story's that's just so hip hop right there. So tell people about how that record came about too.
Man, I was in the car with my son's mother. We was just driving, and it came on the radio. The stylistic record, the Hurry Up This Way Again.
Yeah.
Right. It came on the radio, and I was like, I was listening to it, and I'm like, yo, this is a dope beat. I said, yo, take me to the record store. So she took me to, I think it was the Wiz or one of those stores. I bought the CD, took it home, and chopped it up. Next day, played it for Jay. I knew he was gonna, fuck with it because it was definitely his vibe.
Yeah.
Played it for him, and he loved it.
Yeah, because I'm just saying the breakdowns, how you arranged that song was dope. So you have the breakdowns, and it just, Jay really helped. Yeah, what he did, he really married that beat. Like he really helped make that a so dope in conceptually speaking too. So, okay, so let me see here. All right, let me check my audio again. I got another little. I think you might recognize this sample too. All right. Da-da-da-da. All right. So, all right, we're coming out of Reasonable Doubt. We're going in My Lifetime Volume 1.
Right.
That record hits. That Streets is Watching record hits.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even know, man. That was I want to say this, and I mean this because I think that second album meant a lot. Just like I was saying, how it was written meant a lot to to Nas's career. I think In My Lifetime Volume 1 meant almost the same to Jay's too.
Right.
That can be argued too, which is fine. But when this dropped, I was under the impression a lot of the album was gonna sound like this. It didn't, and that's fine. But talk about this record here is crazy. That Streets is Watching record.
Yeah, man, that record, it took me a week to make that beat. Because look, if you listen to the records on Reasonable Doubt, I wasn't doing that much chopping. It was more loop bass, drums, bass lines, that type of thing, right? So that was the first record, the first time I actually had to chop a sample to get it on beat. So I had to kind of really super chop it up into bits. And that really like introduced me to chopping samples and flipping samples. Streets is Watching did that. And it took me a week to make that beat, but when I got it right, it was perfect. It was dope. He killed it.
No, he really did. I mean,
the verses was too long, but he killed it.
Okay, and you talk about that. Like, you got Jay in there talking some serious storytelling hip hop. Like, how you gonna tell him like, Jay, stop spitting that real shit?
You don't, but I always felt like, yo, if you would have just made it like 3/16, we could have dropped that like a single for real, because it was so dope. But he was writing, and the verse was tight. Fuck it, it worked.
And that's what I'm saying. And I think that's what made it so dope. Is it's not a 16/8, 16/8, 16/8 formula. Like,
right.
It's just that was dope. So now, all right. So Brent chimed in. He wants to ask about the story that Clark Kent said he had the stylistic sample too, going back to Politics as Usual.
Yeah. Yeah, Yeah, Clark said he had made that same beat too. But
I mean, it is what it is, right?
yeah, I don't know what happened. I don't know.
Hey, you know, it is what it is, man. So you talk about chopping. I mean, a little bit. And another record that was, you know, I maybe kind of slept on or maybe not expected from you at the time. I don't know, whatever. Was the Who You With record. So
yeah, that definitely wasn't slept on.
But I think with a lot of people, I don't think they slept on it then. But I think looking back, that's a record that people aren't necessarily going to bring up in your catalog. You know, I mean, I don't. You know, we're talking about, you know, the streets is watching how to jump into Who You With, but so your chopping skills, because you definitely hear the progression in your production by the time Who You With drops.
Right. Definitely.
So, I mean, so talk about that, because that speaking of soundtracks, that worked out well too. I mean, as far as exposure for you, exposure for Jay. So
yeah.
Tell folks about that.
Yeah, Dame hit me one day and said, yeah, hey, we need a record for a soundtrack that Quest Records is about to put out, but we need something like right now. And yeah, I mean, I went home, found that, what's that, Jeff Lorber?
Jeff Lorber, yep.
Yep.
Jeff Lorber fusion record.
Right,
yeah.
Found that, chopped it up, brought it back the next day, played it for him. He gave it to Jay. Jay said he was fucking with it. And then we went to the studio, and the first thing I heard was, I'm like, oh, it's crazy. He killed that record.
Yeah. No, he
did.
did.
Big record, bro.
No, it was. Like, I remember at the time, but what I liked about it was...
That was a big record in L.A. Like, in L.A., it was huge. Crazy.
Really?
Yes.
Did you guys ever find out, like, what was the reason why? Why was it so big out there?
Maybe Quest Records is out there. I know that.
Oh.
And I don't know. It just took off in L.A.
Oh, that's right. Quest was that Quincy Jones subsidiary, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know. Who knows? But the record, you know, was hot. So I got another one. Here we go, man. Let's see what we can do with this, right? All right, hold on. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, I had to take it there, man.
Yeah.
All right. So around this time, boom, Camp Lo comes about. And for people who weren't really into hip hop back then, there's Camp Lo is still making good music, excellent music. They just put out, shout out to, you know, Geechee Suede and Sonny Chiba. They just put out that project with Pete Rock, last week, I think.
Yeah.
So they are still in the 80 Blocks,
Tiffany's
or Tiffany's too. So,
yep.
You know, shout out to those guys for still doing it. But with this, that little corner of hip hop that they captured is so special. So special. So talk about that. Like, I mean, that was just what the niche you were carving with them was really priceless, man.
Man, well, I met I'll tell you how I met Suede. I was living in the Bronx, and Suede was living on the same block I was living on. And the girl I was staying with at the time, she wanted to introduce me to him because, you know, he was a rapper. You know, I was an original flavor. He heard about us. He wanted to meet me. Maybe I could help him get on. So I met him. I heard him rhyme. I liked his voice. So I think, like a week later, I took him to Clark Kent's house. We made a little demo record, and it sounded pretty good. And after that, I kind of lost touch with him for like a year. But when I hooked back up with him, he had Chiba with him. He's like, hey, man, this is my partner. We trying to rap together. The name of our group is CeeLo. And, you know, we want to make some music. We want you to produce it. And I'm like, well, the name is too New York, you know, CeeLo, the Dice. I said, it's cool, but it's not, you know, broad enough. So they changed the name to Camp Lo, and we started working on the music. But when you meet them and you hear them talk and you see how they dress, because they always been like this before they rap. They always had this funny alien slang, and they always was dressed, you know what I mean? They was always dressed in the craziest, weirdest gear. So that's them. And that just made it dope. And they love blaxploitation 70s movies. Everything, all their slang came from, like, you know, Cooley High and Uptown Saturday Night and all this type of, you know, these movies. And so it was easy to paint the picture for them. It was easy just to find that soulful kind of colorful Michael Jackson. You remember the Michael Jackson cartoon?
Well, yeah, and when you mentioned that the other day, when you made the reference to the Jackson 5 cartoon, and then you talked about Camp Lo, like, it made sense. I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, I get it. Like, and when you see, and I'll tell you, whoever did the album artwork, which obviously it's, that it's an interpolation of, the Marvin Gaye joint, but it was crazy because that was before anyone was really doing that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just was. I mean, that was it. So we're going to get Ski back in here shortly. So, because he had left the building. But, no, I want to shout out everybody for, definitely tuning in tonight. As far as it's with Ski. Because we had a conversation earlier in the week, and we're just catching up on everything. So it's just, it's good catching up. I'm glad you guys get an opportunity to catch up. But yeah, Chillmatic, yes, I'm laughing too, that Ski. Yeah, he was out. Like, I guess we touched on the Camp Lo stuff, and that was a wrap. But no, I'm sure he's coming back in. So we'll get it rocking and rolling because we still have plenty to go with. But yeah, I remember just digging for that, and and that record, that it's a dynasty record. I mean, I'm not giving away the holy grail of sampling or anything, but the fact that you can find that in like any dollar bin, and so for him to hook that record up, it was just, it was that much more special because you're like, yo, I've seen that record 1,000 times, or I've got that in my collection. So, I mean, it was just the fact that he was hooking that up. And then I didn't realize, too, that he produced every song on there with the exception of one, which it made it, that much more meaningful, I think. And then he recently reissued about a couple years ago, like the additional songs that, he and Sonny Chiba and Geechee Suede recorded. And it was just dope. They had so much excellent content. So it's great. So what we're going to do, like I said, we're going to kind of see what's going on with Ski. I'm going to play a little something, and I'm definitely shouting out Divided Souls on this. Here's a record that he did, and it's definitely one that kind of sails under the radar with Ski. It's this record by Sam Scarfo featuring Prodigy. And, like, you just hear, and like I said, I am playing this off my laptop, nothing fancy tonight. I'll let the record talk for itself. So that's what I'm saying. Like, we talk about Ski from Jay-Z to Camp Lo to the Sam Scarfo record. It's tough. It definitely look it up. Definitely got to. So shout out to Butter out there. Appreciate you, man, for checking in. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna keep this vibe rolling a little bit. But yeah, we've got a lot we still got to touch on. So what we do, if Ski doesn't come back in, what we'll definitely do is pick up for part 2. That's not a problem. Because we still, lots we got to touch on. We still got to go over more of the Camp Lo stuff. We got to talk about the Fat Joe stuff. We got to talk about his Rock-a-Block imprint that he had with Rough House Columbia. We got to talk about what he did with Currency and continues to do with Currency. And for you Currency fans out there, Pilot Talk 4 is coming. and just a little bit about that. Basically, it's ski chopping samples, it's currency spitting, and their bass players playing some live bass under the samples. So it's some straight hip hop shit. So hands down. So until then, like I said, we're going to pick up part 2. Hope you enjoyed part 1. 12-Bit Soul out. Make sure you guys tune in, or at least I'm saying go to the site, 12bitsoul.com. We're giving away Ski Smack Pack and our Dark Prophet analog synths on Monday. So make sure you go over there, 12bitsoul.com, so you can get in, get some sounds going, get the beats rolling, and we'll go from there. All right. Check you guys later. Thanks.